Hello students, it's Sam Bennett, your guide to critical thinking, and this is another short video on a key concept. In this video, I'm going to be diving into the topic of weak inductive arguments. So here's the idea. Some inductive arguments are weak, other inductive arguments are strong. And what I want you to understand is what makes an inductive argument weak, not strong. Now, before we dive into that topic though, I want to make something crystal clear to you, okay? Only inductive arguments can be strong or weak. If an argument is deductive, it cannot be strong or weak. Strong, weak, in the way we're using it in this class, only applies to inductive arguments. Okay, here's an analogy. Only NFL teams can win or lose the Super Bowl. An NBA team can't win the Super Bowl. An NBA team cannot lose the Super Bowl. It's the same thing with a deductive argument. A deductive argument cannot be strong. A deductive argument cannot be weak either. All right, now, to get to the idea of a weak inductive argument, let's look at an example, okay? Here we go. Last year, it snowed on February 22nd, so probably it will snow on February 22nd this year. All right, this argument is inductive, but I want you to pause the video and ask yourself, why? Why would you guess it's inductive? Secondly, this argument is weak. I want you to guess. Why do you think it's weak? Please pause the video and take your guess. Okay, it's inductive for the following reason. The speaker wouldn't say that it's snowing on February 22nd last year guarantees it will snow on February 22nd this year, right? They're just saying it's probable. They're just saying, look, it snowed on this day last year, so it's probably going to snow on this day this year. Probably, right? So the fact that there's a probably in front of that conclusion indicates that it's inductive. All right, but the question of the hour is, why is it weak? Why is this argument weak? Okay, well, it's because the information doesn't make the conclusion probable, okay? So the speaker thinks that this right here, last year it snowed on February 22nd, they think that makes it probable that it will snow on February 22nd this year. But the speaker's wrong about that. The fact that it snowed on February 22nd last year does not make it likely that it will snow on February 22nd this year. But let's look at a variation, okay? What if someone said, for the last 50 years, it snowed on February 22nd, so probably it will snow on February 22nd this year. All right, yeah, not only is that inductive for the same reason I said before, but it's also strong, right? This information, the last 50 years it snowed on February 22nd, that does make the conclusion probable. Yes, it is likely that it will snow on February 22nd this year if it's done that for the last 50 years. So that's why it is a strong, not a weak, inductive argument. All right, new example, okay? Here we are. 10% of my students don't find the topic of evolutionary biology interesting, so probably all my students won't find the topic interesting. All right, this is an inductive argument. Again, ask yourself, why? Why do you think it is? Take a guess. Second, the argument is weak. Again, guess, take a guess. Pause the video, take a guess. All right. Okay, so why is it inductive? Again, the idea is that the information in the premises, 10% of my students don't find the topic of biology interesting. The speaker isn't saying that guarantees all the students won't find the topic interesting, right? They're just saying it makes it probable, and that's why it's inductive. Okay, however, why is it weak? Look, the fact that 10% of your students don't find some topic interesting, that does not mean it's likely that the rest won't find it interesting. It's just not enough information to make it likely. But, okay, here's a variation. You know, if 87% of the students didn't find it interesting, yeah, that would make it likely that all the rest don't find it interesting. It would make it likely. And so it's a strong inductive argument. All right, are you ready? Here's a more difficult example. If you don't get it the first time, don't worry. Either rewatch or just continue watching these videos. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with this type of issue in later videos again, okay? All right, here you go. Here's the tricky example. Look at this argument. 90% of people from West Virginia can levitate, so probably all people from West Virginia can levitate. Here we are looking at an inductive argument. Notice the word probably in the conclusion. Right. But is the argument weak or strong? That's the question. Is it weak or strong? So it's actually strong. This is why. Yes, I understand. I mean, I live in West Virginia. None of this argument is true. It's definitely not true that 90% of people from West Virginia can levitate. Okay. So yes, I grant you that. None of this is true. It's crazy. But why is it strong? This is why. The conclusion would probably follow if the information were true. So it's almost like you're going to pretend for a second that the information is true. And then again, you just ask yourself, would that conclusion probably follow if that information were true? And it would probably follow, right? If it were true, like for example, in a movie, right? If in a movie, 90% of the people from West Virginia could levitate, well, guess what? In that movie, probably all West Virginians could levitate. All right, so that's the end. Let me just recap real quick. First, ask yourself if the argument is deductive or inductive. When you're looking at an argument, first ask, is it deductive or inductive? Second, if you figure out that it's inductive, then ask yourself if it's strong or weak. Now, don't worry if you still don't perfectly understand this whole issue of strong versus weak. It's a difficult topic, and I'm going to have more videos on it. Okay, so take care.